people that don't know this, or if they don't remember from the first time we spoke, you run a very inventive tech startup called Wand, where people can download an app and then they have access to people that will come and clean either their house or their apartment that they live in, or oftentimes people were using it for Airbnb rentals. And so you had this company and then COVID shut it down. And for 2 months, I have never seen anyone work harder than I saw you dive in and be like, we've got this time. We can reskin, we can reshape, we can fix all the problems that we normally would never be able to fix because the thing's in motion. So 2.5 months after coronavirus, where are you guys at with your app startup? How are things going?
It was definitely a hit and a challenge in hindsight. But I think that challenge will have been to our benefit moving forward. I mean, I've said a couple of times, like in a couple of threads, like there's a new national focus on the importance of cleaning and disinfecting that's going to be definitely to our advantage from like a customer acquisition perspective. But from the product side, yeah, I mean, we like launched in December really publicly, and we were kind of just starting to see like, you know, you spend X amount to acquire a customer and they use the customer like once a month. Now that customer has paid off their acquisition cost. Here it's March and we're just starting to see some of these numbers like filter back into positive like generated revenue. And we're like, all right, we're on the swing up. And then it's like, world is closed. Everybody's home. They don't need to book a cleaner because they're not at work. Airbnb hosts who are like, you know, an Airbnb host is going to use us 2 or 3 times a week, whereas the average person's going to use this once, maybe twice a month. Those people aren't getting any bookings anymore. So all that business went out the window, and we were just like doing this for a little while. It was a stressful 2 weeks for sure, but then it was like, you've got to either change your mindset or like, what, are you going to stall? And then just, all right, just whatever. So we kind of pivoted pretty hard into, we definitely, there's like the saying that if you're not embarrassed by like the first version of your product, then you waited too long. We definitely pushed out like a version that was very much scrapped together by, well, like me initially. And then now we've got 3 great developers who kind of patch on it from there. So we've been—
Is that real? Like, you think about that? I mean, you say that about the embarrassed of your first thing, and I think of everything that I've ever done that I'm proud of. If I go back and look at the first one, the first speech I gave that was in that vein, or the first time I built something, you're right. Like, you're always like, how did I even walk outside with that thing and not, you know, hang my head in shame?
Which is how we feel right now. Like we're really, it's been hard with like the Apple and like the Android approval funnels to like push the apps through. But right now we're in beta with what we're going to call like our big version 2. And we're like super, super excited to get it out, just because it's like, I'm looking at our current version. If you download, and I encourage people to do it still, download Wand right now and then check out the update when we push it out in a couple of weeks. It's going to be like you're downloading a mom and pop shop app. Not that it's mom and pop shop, but it's like our team chopping up together something that took, you know, the latter end of next year, versus now we've got something that I'm confident that like you could download Wand and you could have it in, you know, your phone next to Uber or Rover, any of these other gig platforms, and the quality level, that's been like the bar that we're trying to reach. We want people to be able to download Wand and there's not a quality difference or a user experience difference between those perceptions.
Man, that takes tenacity, because those apps, the reason that they're successful is not only did they fill a market need, there were other people trying to fill those market needs. They figured out, how can you make the user experience so clean that it feels as though they've always known how to use that app, right? Like when you get an app that you really love, you don't sit there being like, I'm confused, I don't know how to use it. It just naturally flows. Oh, this is the next step. This is the next step. So you think you've made it pretty far down that path.
Well, that's the power with, I think, being like niche focused, I guess, like being like an app that, because I mean, you could say like there's Handy and Tackle and TaskRabbit or Craigslist, Yelp, like you can find cleaners everywhere. Like we're not innovating in terms of like being a model where people can find cleaners through some medium. But the biggest value, I think, comes from that vertical focus on one industry. Because if you like, you can look at like a Rover as a great example. We've been like kind of eyeballing a company like the dog walking app. They're vertically focused on that industry, and their customer retention, their revenue, you can look at all of their metrics. The customer retention is the biggest one for platforms like ours, but it's because you're cultivating like what you just described, the experience where it's like, it feels natural, but it's hard to cultivate an experience that feels natural for one customer pain point if you're trying to address like a broad array of service offerings. So like if I can hop on an app and do X, Y, or Z, like if you haven't built out like the custom user experience for X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C, Like you're better off to have just, it's like niching down, like people.
Well, and it's to put this in context, like when you're talking about TaskRabbit, so it's possible for you to get an app that you can just see in there, hey, I need somebody to mow my lawn real quick. I'm just going to get on here and hire somebody and they're going to show up with a mower and mow it. Or it may be that they're going to go run and buy me groceries, or they're going to help me set up my garage door opener or whatever. But those are so broad that in order for the app to be able to make changes or, you know, tiny things that would be really specialized to garage door opening fixing, now, like you're saying with cleaning, you can really specialize that. You told me one about, like, you could ask the person that's doing the cleaning to set up your toilet paper roll to have like some kind of special fold on it so people know, oh, this was just cleaned and it hasn't been used yet. And you can just look on the app and say, oh, I'd like that $2 upgrade.
Yeah.
And those, just click it.
Yep. Yeah. That's definitely the vertical focus. Is you can't build out, like, there's so many variables that come into something like that, that because we're so focused on our space, we're able to allocate the time and attention and the R&D to building out things like that. Like you can chat back and forth with somebody and request that upcharge and add it, and you can have your lists for, like, this is what I want in this home, especially for, and we're even niching down further. That's why I say, like, the Airbnb host, it's like, if we got, it costs us X to acquire this user and they're going to use it once a month, and it costs us Y to acquire this user and they're going to use it 10 times a month, we're going to go and build it niche focus further on that user that's going to use it 10 times a month. So here we've laid out these features that are making it easier than ever in the next version for who we saw using it the first time around, like making it through the experience an imperfect experience. But because they felt the pain point so strong, like in our current version, you can add 10 homes to your profile. Like they can just tap a home and they can make it through, and it's an imperfect experience for sure, but it works, and their pain point is strong enough that, like, it's being felt, and we've just honed in on, like, what's working and what isn't.